So let's talk about something that feels like it's straight out of a political thriller, but honestly, it's a question that keeps foreign policy experts up at night. What happens if Israel decides to take out Iran's nuclear facilities? You've heard the whispers, the threats, the red lines being drawn and redrawn. It's a scenario that hangs over the Middle East like a storm cloud. If Israel were to attack Iran's nuclear sites and key leaders, how might Iran respond? It's not just a simple tit for tat. This would be a move that could ignite the entire region, a domino effect that could have consequences far beyond their borders. Now, before you think this is just fear-mongering, understand that both sides have been preparing for this for years. It's a chess match where the pieces are missiles, proxies, and entire populations. Iran wouldn't just sit back and take the hit. Their response would be calculated, designed for maximum impact, not just militarily, but psychologically and economically. They would want to prove that an attack on them comes at an unbearable cost. This isn't about one strike, it's about the monumental, earth-shaking reaction that would follow. So where would Iran aim its fury? It's not as simple as just firing missiles into the desert. There's a strategy, a list of targets that would hurt Israel the most. We're going to get into the specifics, the nitty-gritty of this potential conflict. Let's break down the most likely targets Iran would strike in retaliation, directly or through its proxies. We'll look at everything from top-secret nuclear sites to the very heart of Israel's biggest cities. This is a deep dive into a conflict that everyone hopes will never happen, but everyone needs to understand. Alright, let's start with the most obvious and honestly the most terrifying retaliation. If Israel hits Iran's nuclear program, Iran is going to go right for the heart of Israel's own nuclear capabilities. This isn't just about revenge, it's about sending a message that there are no secrets, no untouchable places. The number one target on that list would almost certainly be the Dimona Nuclear Research Center in the Negev desert. This place is shrouded in mystery, officially a textile factory for a long time, but everyone knows it's the centerpiece of Israel's undeclared nuclear arsenal. Hitting Dimona would be the ultimate symbolic blow, a direct challenge to Israel's strategic ambiguity and its regional military dominance. Then you have the Sorek Nuclear Research Center, located much closer to central Israel near Yavna. While it's smaller than Dimona, it's still a critical piece of the puzzle. It's one of Israel's most important scientific and research institutes. Targeting Sorek would be a way for Iran to demonstrate the reach and precision of its missiles. It's not just about hitting a building. It's about showing the Israeli public that even their most advanced research facilities, the symbols of their technological prowess, are vulnerable. It's a psychological attack as much as a physical one, designed to create panic and doubt. For Iran, these aren't just military targets, they are the highest value targets imaginable. Striking them would be a declaration that the game has fundamentally changed. It would be Iran's way of saying, you tried to take away our future nuclear capability, so we will dismantle your existing one. The strategic and symbolic significance cannot be overstated. It would be an act of defiance aimed not just at Israel, but at the entire world, signaling that Iran is a power that will not be pushed around no matter the cost. The fallout, both literal and political, would be immense. Now, beyond the strategic military tit-for-tat, Iran would aim to paralyze the country. And how do you do that? You go after the places where people live, work, and feel safe. The goal here is to inflict massive economic, political, and psychological damage. The first target in this category would be Tel Aviv. This isn't just another city, it's Israel's economic and cultural engine. It's their New York, their Silicon Valley, all rolled into one. It's home to the stock exchange, tech startups, foreign embassies, and a vibrant modern lifestyle. A missile strike on Tel Aviv would be an attack on the very identity of modern Israel, causing chaos and bringing its economy to a grinding halt. Then, of course, there's Jerusalem. This is the one that sends shivers down everyone's spine. Targeting Jerusalem is a move with immense political and religious implications that would resonate globally. It's the political capital and the spiritual heart for three world religions. An attack here wouldn't just be an attack on Israel, it would be seen as an attack on Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, depending on where the missiles land. Iran would know that striking Jerusalem would draw international condemnation, but it would also be a powerful statement to the Muslim world, positioning Iran as the defender of Islamic holy sites against an aggressor. The political fallout would be catastrophic. And let's not forget Haifa, Israel's third largest city, and a major seaport and industrial hub. It's home to critical infrastructure, including oil refineries and chemical plants. An attack on Haifa would be devastatingly effective from a strategic perspective. It could cripple Israel's trade, disrupt its energy supply, and potentially cause an environmental disaster. By targeting these three cities, Tel Aviv for its economy, Jerusalem for its soul, and Haifa for its industry, Iran would be waging a comprehensive campaign to break the spirit and the operational capacity of the Israeli state, making the cost of the initial strike unbearably high for its citizens. Okay, so after hitting the symbolic and civilian centers, Iran's next logical step would be to degrade Israel's ability to fight back. You can't win a war if you can't get your planes in the air. This means targeting Israel's most important military installations and air bases. High on this list would be the Hatzarim Air Base in the Negev Desert. This isn't just any air base, it's one of the principal bases for the Israeli Air Force and home to the Flight Academy. Taking out Hatzarim, or even just damaging it significantly, would disrupt the training of new pilots and hamper the operations of some of Israel's most advanced fighter squadrons. Next up is the Nevatim Air Base, also in the Negev. This base is critically important because it's home to Israel's F-35 Adir stealth fighters. These are the jets that would likely be used in any initial strike against Iran. For Iran, hitting Nevatim would be direct payback. It would be a way of saying, you used your most advanced weapon against us, now we're going to destroy it at its home. Successfully striking a base that houses F-35s would be a massive propaganda victory for Iran, demonstrating that even Israel's most sophisticated and expensive military assets are not safe from their missile arsenal. And we can't forget the Palmachim Air Base on the Mediterranean coast. This base is unique because it's not just for jets. It's a major center for Israel's drone operations and, reportedly, its space program, including the launch of spy satellites. Hitting Palmachim would blind Israel's eyes in the sky. It would disrupt their intelligence-gathering capabilities and their ability to conduct drone strikes and surveillance, which are central to their military doctrine. By targeting these key air bases, Iran would be systematically attempting to dismantle the very tools of Israeli air superiority, making it harder for Israel to sustain a prolonged conflict or defend against further attacks. So, Israel has a shield, right? The famous Iron Dome. We've all seen the videos of it lighting up the night sky, intercepting rockets. But what if the goal isn't just to get one missile through, but to break the shield itself? A key part of Iran's retaliation strategy would be to overwhelm and degrade Israel's multi-layered missile defense system. The Iron Dome is designed for short-range rockets and artillery shells, the kind fired by Hezbollah or Hamas. Iran would likely launch a massive, coordinated barrage of drones and cruise missiles, specifically to saturate the Iron Dome batteries, forcing them to expend their limited and very expensive interceptors. But the Iron Dome is just the first layer. For the bigger threats, like Iran's ballistic missiles, Israel relies on its Arrow and David's sling systems. The Arrow system, particularly Arrow 2 and Arrow 3, is designed to intercept long-range missiles, even outside the atmosphere. The facilities that house the radars, command centers, and launchers for the Arrow system would become prime targets for Iran. If Iran could successfully strike these sites, it would be like taking out the brain and eyes of Israel's defense system. It would leave Israel far more vulnerable to subsequent waves of more powerful ballistic missiles. The strategy here is sophisticated. It's not just about brute force. Iran would likely use a mix of weapons in a single, massive attack. Imagine cheap, slow-moving drones launched first to act as decoys and exhaust the interceptors. Then, while the defense systems are reloading or the radars are distracted, the faster, more powerful cruise and ballistic missiles come screaming in. The objective is to create holes in the defensive umbrella. Every missile that gets through is a victory, and every damaged radar or launcher makes the next attack even more likely to succeed. Degrading these systems is essential for Iran to ensure its retaliatory strikes hit their intended targets. Beyond the purely military and strategic targets, Iran would look for ways to cause maximum disruption to daily life and grab international headlines. This is where civilian infrastructure becomes a target. Think about Ben Gurion Airport, Israel's main international gateway. It's the country's primary connection to the rest of the world. An attack on Ben Gurion, or even just the credible threat of one, would be enough to shut it down completely. International airlines would cancel flights immediately. It would effectively isolate Israel, trapping people inside and keeping others out, causing economic pain and a sense of being under siege. Then you have the ports, which are the arteries of Israel's economy. The port of Ashdod and the port of Ashkelon are two of the country's most important commercial hubs. Almost everything Israel imports and exports, from consumer goods to raw materials, comes through these ports. Attacking them would be a direct blow to Israel's economic lifeline. It would disrupt supply chains, cause shortages, and drive up prices. Furthermore, the Ashkelon port is right next to a major oil pipeline and terminal, so an attack there could cause a massive environmental and energy crisis, compounding the chaos. The psychological impact of hitting these targets is enormous. These aren't hidden military bases, they are places civilians use every day. An attack on an airport or a seaport is an attack on the feeling of normalcy, on the ability to travel, trade, and live without fear. It's designed to create a sense of panic, and to show the Israeli public that the government can no longer guarantee their safety in the most basic ways. It's a strategy aimed at turning public opinion against the war, putting immense pressure on Israeli leaders by making the cost of their initial strike felt by every single citizen. Now let's talk about the war you can't see. Iran's retaliation wouldn't just be missiles and bombs. They are a formidable power in cyberspace, and they would almost certainly launch a massive cyber attack against Israel's critical infrastructure. Think about what that means: targeting the power grid, plunging cities into darkness, hacking into the water supply systems, causing shortages or contamination, attacking the banking and financial sectors to create economic panic. These attacks are deniable, difficult to trace definitively back to the state, and can cause widespread chaos without firing a single shot. It's a way to cripple the country from the inside out. And then there's the Ring of Fire. Iran's network of powerful regional proxies. Iran wouldn't have to do all the fighting itself. In the north, they would activate Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah has an arsenal estimated at over 150,000 rockets and missiles, many of them precision-guided, all aimed at Israel. A full-scale attack from Hezbollah would open a devastating second front, forcing Israel to divide its military and its missile defenses. This isn't a small skirmish. This would be a full-blown war on Israel's northern border, potentially more destructive than any direct attack from Iran itself. But it doesn't stop there. To the south you have the Houthis in Yemen. They've already shown their capability and willingness to launch long-range missiles and drones at Israel. In Syria and Iraq you have various Iran-backed militias that could be activated to launch attacks. This multi-front strategy is Iran's trump card. It would stretch the Israeli military to its breaking point, turning a conflict with one nation into a regional war. Each proxy has its own agenda, but they are united by their opposition to Israel, and their allegiance to Iran. This multi-pronged assault, combining direct missile strikes, cyber warfare, and a full-scale proxy war, is how Iran would ensure its retaliation is overwhelming and unforgettable. So, as we've seen, the question of how would Iran respond doesn't have a simple answer. It's not one action, but a cascade of devastating reactions. Iran's response would be multi-layered, targeting Israel's most critical and symbolic assets, directly and through proxies. They would aim for the nuclear program, the major cities, the air bases that launch the initial attack, and the missile defense systems that protect the nation. It would be a coordinated assault designed to cripple Israel militarily, economically, and psychologically, showing that the price of such a strike is simply too high to pay. This isn't just a war game scenario, it's a blueprint for a regional catastrophe. The involvement of groups like Hezbollah and the Houthis, combined with a massive cyber offensive, would transform a state-on-state conflict into a multi-front war that could spiral out of control, drawing in other global powers. The destruction would be immense, the loss of life tragic, and the political landscape of the Middle East would be forever altered. The goal of this retaliation wouldn't just be revenge, but to fundamentally change the balance of power and ensure that such an attack could never happen again. The brinkmanship between Israel and Iran is one of the most dangerous dynamics in the world today. Every threat and counter-threat pushes the region closer to an abyss from which it might not easily return. The potential for miscalculation is terrifyingly high. This brings us to the ultimate question, the one that hangs over all of this. How might this escalation reshape the region? What would the Middle East look like after a war like this? Let us know your thoughts below. And if you found this breakdown informative, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world.